be starting off demonstrating what we have built and what is our aim with it. First of all, we'll go to the sign up page. Please proceed. This is our sign up page where a user will create his account and then he'll proceed towards the login page to login. Move on to the login. Basically, these are our requirements for the password to make it more secure since this is for a bank. Please proceed to login. Please log in. Intelliscore is basically an credit scoring AI based system which will assess a customer's credibility by the information he provides to the program, to the model. And first of all, this is our homepage, and I'll start off with the and entry details, and I'll be explaining how and what we are doing here. Over here, we this is our data entry page, data entry form, where we'll be fulfilling information of the customer, or the customer will be fulfilling his information himself. There are some mandatory checks, and there are some not, such as name and age. Name is not very important to us since this information can be neglected for the privacy reasons, because in banking sector, privacy matters a lot. However, other factors such as age, gender are quite crucial for our model to be trained on to assess the credibility of the person. Dependence is very important, and that is why we have marked it as that. Monthly rent is very important. If he has none, he can select zero. And further, we'll give him an option for ownership and rentalship as well. Knowing how much time he has spent in his current residence is important. What type of employment is very, very important to assess the credibility. Move on. His type of work, medical, construction, IT, how long he has been working on his current position. It assesses how credible he is. Monthly income is very important since he would need money to repay the loans that he will be applying for. Other source of incomes, taxes he has to pay because there are a lot of non-filers in our country as well. Do you have, yes, this is important. Total values of asset is basically his net worth, which is very, very, very important. Current debt is very important, and there is this ECIB section as well, which is provided by the state bank itself, where all the banks report of individuals according to the NIC that how much loan he has taken from them, how long has been your bank account operating. This is for the customers who have already the bank account with us, not for the new ones. New ones can type zero as well. Below, what city do you have? This is very important. If he's in some sort of outstation place, and if he's in Karachi, a major city in Pakistan, that matters a lot as well. Installment amount of installment that he can repay. This is important since a lot of people could assess like 8 lakh. I can if we can pay 1.5 lakh rupees and their salaries are like 50,000 rupees. So this is important as well. Tenure as well. These are all checks where we assess the credibility, such as NIC, if he is a native or not, salary slips verified by his company, employment letter verified by his company, whether it is from the government or private section. If he is doing business, then business proofs as well. And yeah, reference is quite valid since reference are always reached out when the customer is not responding to the bank's calls. Please generate the score now. Now this is our dashboard, okay? And basically this will assess his credit score. This would be forwarded to the Meezan's head, or the customer would know itself himself. And further, Shamir uh, would now approach with the explanation of how dashboard works and what we are doing here to fulfill our aim with the credit score that our model is basically calculating. Please, Shamir, proceed.
Okay, so the dashboard basically compares the current customers' entries to the data sets averages and other metrics according to the data set. The data set is basically the previous customers that have applied for loans to Mizan. So at the top, we show a few KPIs that would be important for assessing this. Here we show the exact score that's calculated, and here we show that the minimum is a score of 85. Now, the next thing we show is a score comparison with the top five scores. Currently, the top five scores are 100 judged by a model. These will be regulated to match real life scenarios. Accordingly, these are other categorical data that the customer has entered. This is a comparison of the average installment rates that other customers are paying. And similarly, these are different charts that basically describe the current customer's status with and compares it with previous customers that have also applied for loans. Now, this basically gives a brief overview comparing the averages. But if you go on to here we can generate a report. Now, currently, this report is generated using a Gemini API, where the Gemini API is fed your inputs and the previous data sets averages, and it compares the two and gives insights accordingly. The other approach we had settled on was a RAG model where it would use Quen 2.5b, which would basically do the same thing, but it would be a better prompt approach, generated approach. However, that approach requires a lot of GPU usage, which our systems currently don't have access to, so we've resorted to a Gemini approach. But this depends on an API key, so hopefully in the long run, we'll resort to the RAG model. Now here we can see the current in customers status where it shows an in-depth analysis. It compares a few of his strengths. For example, the total monthly income it shows is 450,000 plus 50,000 other income. So a total income of 500,000, which exceeds the data set average of 260,000, demonstrating a strong ability to repay debts. Similarly, this report compares different aspects of the customer's profile with previous customers to show the strengths, the risks and weaknesses, and accordingly how the person can improve their loan approval chances. So this is technically beneficial for both a customer and a Meezan employee who may use the app to generate a customer score, as it can let them know what the customer has to do to gain a better score and also what to look for in a better score. From here on, we can then print a report or we can save it as a PDF. Accordingly, you can download the report onto your local system. From here, we can then go to the profile page, which basically is the profile for the current user who's generating scores. So assuming that the current user LeBron is generating scores, this is that person's profile. This can be the Meezan employee's profile or a random customer's profile who may wish to generate scores. These settings can also be changed for the profile using the settings page, where you can update the picture and other information which once saved can be represented in the profile page. For example, if I wanted from Alex to Imran, then if I save this data, the changes are reflected in the profile as well accordingly. You can also change the password, which once changed will redirect you to the login page as accordingly. And from the login page, you can basically then re-log in using your new password. But this password also has to match the similar criteria as we mentioned in the sign up page. Other than this, the home page basically is a main sort of a hub which shows all the previous scores you've generated across time. So, assuming the current user LeBron has generated all these scores, to make sure that they have a maintained history of all these scores, we save them in the home page. From here, let's say if the current user LeBron wanted to access Jamal's score, which he generated in the morning, he can similarly click on view details and the accordingly dashboard will appear for Jamal. And similarly, if he wants to generate a report, he can do that too. Now, from here on, my partner Noshavan will describe basically how the model works and how our credit scoring system works. Noshavan, can you please
All
start?
right. So now moving on to the model training part. The first thing that we had to do was pre-process some data because many of these algorithms they only take numerical inputs as the training set. So the first thing that we had to do was perform imputation, dropping some records, perform normalization, standardization, and encoding some values. Now, next, we had several choices for the model training. The first that we tried was KNN, but that didn't work because the feature count is too high, and that's just not a good model for the dataset with too many features. Next, we tried linear regression, but that didn't work either because the data that we contain it has many nonlinear relationships, and so yeah, the error scores are too high. Then moving on, we tried decision trees and neural networks, but the neural networks give us uh, lower MSE errors. That's why we went ahead with it. We tried several different combinations of hyperparameters for neural network training and picked the model with the lowest MSE error score. Now Fazil will move on towards the conclusions.
Thank you, Noshirwan, for handing me the conclusion. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is our whole app. Basically, our app is IntelliScore is credit scoring system that will assess credibility of the customer from either from his own side, or a Meezan Bank employee can compute credibility of the customer as well. And for that, he has multiple options in the home where he could see everyone's dashboard, everyone's score. So this is it. This was our team, entire team, and bye bye.